Hey, a tough dual loss for Bison Wrestling against South Dakota State here at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse. We're going to recap that and go over things as we move forward to the Big 12. Here to talk about it is assistant coach Jarrod Garnett, and we appreciate your time, Coach. And first off, before we get to this duel with South Dakota State, give us a little background on yourself. This is your first year here. It's been a pleasure having you in the program, and you and Roger and all of the coaching staff have worked very well together. Give us a little background on yourself and how much you're enjoying Fargo.
Well, I started my collegiate career over at Virginia Tech. Yeah. Went there in 2008, graduated in 2013, ended up having a pretty successful career there as an athlete, ended up being a 3-time ACC champion, 1-time All-American. So I draw a lot of experience as far as what I do as a coach from my experience of Virginia Tech, being a young program there.
Sure.
They were coming off a pretty bad season. So I take, what I learned there as far as how to grow a program, what they did to us,
sure.
To make us a top 5 program. And eventually I decided I wanted to coach, so I left Virginia Tech after I graduated, went up to Bucknell, coached for a year with the Bison with an S,
yeah.
So as opposed to Bison.
Yeah.
But after that, I spent a year over at Lehigh University, both competing and coaching. I went down to the volunteer assistant position. Ultimately saw that this position was open, and I had been familiar with Coach Kish before. We had wrestled North Dakota State. I had actually wrestled one of North Dakota State's guys, Trent Sprinkle, at the national tournament. So I was familiar with the program, familiar with the job that Coach Kish was doing here, and something that resonates with me is just, I talked about it earlier, building a young program. So that was something that attracted me, something that I was interested in. So I made the long haul, 21 hours across the country, packed up the truck, and had the rest of my stuff sent out here. So it's been enjoyable so far. I think it's a good coaching fit for me. He gives me a lot of things to do that'll help me learn and grow to eventually do what he does one day.
It's been a pleasure having you here. Now let's get to this duel with South Dakota State, obviously a rival. They won the duel down in Brookings. This duel was a 23-14 loss right here at the BBF. And where did this match turn? There was a lot of tight matches, a lot of back and forth. It started at 125. The Bison get the points right there. Then they reeled off a bunch of matches right in a row. Where did it turn in your mind?
First off, I just want to, credit our fans to the great atmosphere it was in here. But I think, I want to say it turned at 141 for us, but ultimately, they racked off 6 consecutive wins on us, which makes it tough to win a duel that way, especially when you're at home. It can deflate the gym a little bit, so to say, and I think it ultimately turned at 33, to be quite honest, where they racked off from 33 all the way to 74. So I think, looking back on it, if we could have gotten a couple of those close wins in there at 141, 149, I think ultimately our fate could have been a little bit different in that duel. So
how do you learn from that moving forward now? You got a couple of weeks off, moving into the Big 12 tournament down in Kansas City. How do you handle the practices? How do you make the guys better? Because I'm guessing this was a tough loss for them. How do you devour that and get better from this?
I think all we can do from here is just kind of look back on the duel, reflect just a little bit, not too much. We want to come into this practice. Obviously, we'll talk about it today, this afternoon, and we'll adjust. We'll look at it and see what went wrong, and we'll make those adjustments this week. Everything we do this week will be reflective as far as what happened this past weekend. I think we have to get better at defense. We gave up a lot of takedowns, a lot of shots. Guys were in on our legs a lot, so that'll be a focus point this weekend, as well as just being tough guys. I think that's an area that we can continue to get better, is just being tough, and I think that always goes a long way in the sport of wrestling in general. So, we'll have a little bit of a tough training phase this week. We'll go hard through Thursday or through Friday, and then we'll start to taper it back a little bit next week and kind of have more of a normal week. And Wednesday will kind of be the day that we kind of shut it off a little bit and allow those guys to be able to rest up. So, basically, we just have to get through a tough 4 or 5 days here. And these guys know that, so a lot of 2-a-days, a little bit of getting up early. So just doing something hard to challenge them a little bit mentally and physically before we taper back and give them a little bit of a break. So
I think one of the interesting things, first year in the Big 12 for the program, so this will be the first Big 12 tournament for a lot of these guys, and this was not a full Big 12 schedule for the Bison this year. You didn't wrestle everybody in a duel, but I'm sure you ran into a lot of these guys in some of the meets, the Reno or Vegas or whatever. But moving forward into this, how different is it for the guys maybe not having gone head-to-head in a duel with the guy they're going to face in the Big 12. And how do you think your guys can go into this meet for the first time and take some momentum and some of that unknown and use it to their advantage?
You know, I think, you know, we're not at any more disadvantage than the other guys are. You know, we haven't seen some of the traditional Big 12 teams, and they haven't seen us. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of scouting that goes on with, you know, guys like South Dakota State and, you know, Air Force and your Wyomings and the rest of the other, you know, affiliate programs that saw each other this year. But, you know, I think we're just in as much of a good spot as they are. So I think we're going to do our homework. We're going to see what the brackets look like, and when they come out, you know, and we'll take it one match at a time.
Fun talking the sport with you. Best of luck to you and the guys as you prepare for this first Big 12 tournament.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, enjoy this, Bison wrestling fans. This is a great time in the program, first time ever in the Big 12 championships, and we'll preview that and take a look at that next week as well. Have a great week, everyone.